If you just take time to think about your life, you're going to have a more thoughtful, intentional life. So when we take time to cultivate and curate our vision, then we allow this fullness
If you're not
to
conscious
enter
about
into
your
our
investment
lives.
strategy, you won't end up where you want to be, not financially or as a human. On this show, we interview highly successful investors and share how they overcame limitations to become unstoppable forces of success. If you're ready to learn what it is to be a conscious investor so you can end up where you want, keep listening.
Great to be back with you, Conscious Investor. I am so excited to be wrapping up 2023 and preparing to launch into 2024. We're in a series right now that is all about, about reflection and really setting intentions. Today, we're going to be diving into really honing in your vision and getting that dialed in so that you are clear about where you're going. We'll be talking in the coming weeks about setting your intentions and celebrating. So we've got 2 or 3 more episodes in this particular mindset series that are going to really catapult you into 2024. If you are here and it's your first time visiting the Conscious Investor podcast, welcome. The Conscious Investor community is so strong and so beautiful and wonderful. And it's even better with people like you. I'd be absolutely honored if you'd hit that subscribe button right now so that you will automatically be notified when new episodes come about. In fact, we have episodes that come out on Mondays, mindset episodes, and Thursdays. And going into 2024, I'm excited to announce that in addition to having these powerful investors and entrepreneurs coming in to pour into you on the wealth building side of the pillars, we're also going to be inviting health experts onto the show. So, on average, I think once a month, there will be a health expert joining us because Conscious Investors, we're all about personal freedom. And our 3 pillars are health, number 1, mindset, and wealth. So we're going to really be pouring into all 3 areas as we go into 2021. Now, if you're listening to this today, the day this episode comes out, December 4th, you are in for a special treat because for the first time ever, I am actually going to be offering a goal setting workshop. And I'm not talking about a pre-recorded. I'm talking you and I in the Zoom sphere together, going through some exercises that will really help you unlock the powerful potential that you have within you. This all comes about because recently I've walked some private groups through some of these different exercises, and I could see it was amazing how they were starting to connect their hearts, minds, and their goals, which is really powerful. And honestly, it was so powerful. And I ran out of time every single time I did this. I ran out of time and was asked, like, oh my gosh, do you ever do this in an extended type setting? And so hence I listened and I am going to move forward. And these are not necessarily convenient times for me. I'm going to be offering this on December 5th, which is tomorrow, 11 a.m. Pacific time, 2 p.m. Eastern time. I will also be offering another session. For those of you who can't make a weekday, I will be offering a Saturday morning session that's on December 9th. Into this week, 8:30 a.m. Pacific time, 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. If you go down to the show notes, you can see the Zoom links are available, so you can register in advance there. So don't miss out. It's going to be powerful. You'll be able to connect with other conscious investors in a really meaningful way. And ultimately, this is for you. If you're ready to take control of your life, if you're ready to be the architect for your life, even if you've already reached and achieved goals, there's still more. This is for you. Okay. We are architects of our life. We're going to put all of your potential into motion. We're going to create meaningful relationships. We're going to close that gap between your potential and the possibility. If all of that resonates with you, you do not want to miss this. The recording, there won't be a recording available. This is live. It's in person. It's, for those, not in person, like you have to fly anywhere, but in person, like in the Zoom space together. It's be there or miss out. That's just the reality of the situation. At the end of this episode, I'm going to give a special offer. I did this in the last episode. You may have caught it, but for committed conscious investors, I really would love some input from you so we can all have a chitty chat at the very end of this episode. One final announcement is, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. The Conscious Investor Growth Summit is coming up and you don't want to miss this. Elevate your life, be around these powerful thought leaders, seasoned investors, world-class entrepreneurs. We're all going to be in one spot, sharing insights to transform and pour into you. We are there for you. Some of my just close best friends in this world, they're so phenomenal. They're like flying out. We're closing the distance between the stage and the attendees because we're not there to just be on a stage talking at you. We're there to pour into you. And a lot of events aren't like that. A lot of events, there's this distance and there's such big events that it feels awkward. This event has limited space to it, and we're not going to open up extra space at all because we want to keep the culture. We want you to be able to connect with other like-minded people. We want you to pour into each other, and we want all the speakers to have an opportunity to really, if you want to meet and talk, you have that opportunity. There is no gap, no distance. And right now, tickets are on sale. They are still early bird pricing. So you want to go to consciousinvestorgrowthsummit.com and get your tickets. Get them before they're gone, because when they're gone, they are gone. All right. Also many announcements, and it is time. Let's dive into vision. Having a vision for our life can feel a little bit hocus pocusy, right? It can feel like I just need to go sit in nature and have some type of, crazy experience. And then I'm going to have this epiphany and all of life is going to be great, right? Yeah. Guess what? You don't have to go out into nature. You don't have to do psychedelics. You don't have to do anything to create vision for your life, but raise your level of self-awareness. Today, we're going to talk about creating and generating that vision. Now, I have 3 books, only 3. I know that might be a record at my disposal that have influenced my journey about vision. In fact, vision has been absolutely critical in my life. Before I started, let me back up. Before I started working with a high performance coach, I knew I had this potential in me. I did not know how to access it. I had a greater vision for my life. I wanted to pour into people in the way that I am doing it now. And this is not the full vision of what I want to do. I have a grander vision. And so it's exciting to see that when I started working with a high performance coach, I did vision building exercises and I gained the clarity that I needed. Last episode, we talked a lot about clarity. And so you can go back and listen to that episode because not only were we reviewing the past year, but we were also discussing clarity. So as we are creating vision, I want you to know that it unlocks our potential and it allows us to really understand what we need to focus on. Cameron Herold, who's been on the show, and he is such a phenomenal entrepreneur. I cannot there's no words for it, right? It's like he's just a phenomenal entrepreneur, very, very successful. He wrote Vivid Vision. He's been on the podcast. Go ahead and we will drop a link to that podcast episode. But in his book, Vivid Vision, he said, they chase down their ideas, but that often does not lead toward anything. So just people in general will just chase towards ideas. Whereas someone who is thinking 3 years out or even 10 years out, but who's taking targeted steps in the right direction is going to take advantage of opportunities directly aligned with their goals rather than taking meandering paths, going in circles, or going nowhere. Okay, so really, let's just distill this down, make it super simple. Hey, if you take time to just think about, even on a super high level, you take time to think about, where do I want to go? What do I want to generate in life? What does this look like in my mind? If you just take time to think about your life, you're going to have a more thoughtful, intentional life. And instead of feeling empty and feeling like life is a bunch of half-built bridges to nowhere, you're going to feel that joy and satisfaction of, oh, look, I got to this little island and I can see that's the next place I want to go. So when we take time to cultivate and curate our vision, then we allow this fullness to enter into our lives. Now, I like to say that vision isn't stagnant. I can tell that every year when I do a vision building session, I realize that my vision has expanded. And why? Because we change. We are shifting as people. And so this is actually really articulated well by Donald Miller in his book, Hero on a Mission. Highly recommend it. I listened to it in the audio version and I immediately purchased it in the book form because I knew this is something I wanted to be able to reference quickly and easily. Hey, yay, I'm referencing it now. He says, remember, you're looking into the future. You might not be the person you want to be now, but we've got to pick a point on the horizon to head toward. Otherwise, we won't know what direction in which to transform. I love the combination of what Cameron and Donald both say here. And it's very complimentary. It's saying, hey, we have to have a target. I'll use island because that makes it easy, right? We're looking out to the vastness of life, the vastness of an ocean, and we have to know where we're headed. We have to have at least some idea. So I remember I love the Caribbean. I think it's beautiful, although I like sunsets on the West Coast better. However, if you're either way, let's just picture yourself standing on the shoreline and you are watching, you're just looking to this horizon and it's endless ocean. And you're like, oh my gosh, this goes on forever. And if you're on a peninsula, it really seems like you're out in the middle of nowhere and it's all water all around you. Think of this as life. Life is just this endless opportunity. I like to call it the endless black galaxy because it's so beautiful. We break through the atmosphere and we get into this expansive universe where, wow, anything is possible. So, wow, which way do I go? And that's why we want to take both of their thoughts in mind and say, let's have an idea of what brings me joy, what brings me fulfillment, what am I drawn towards, and let's make that one of those target markets, right? Like, and I'm not talking about in investing real estate target markets. I'm just saying like, okay, we're going to target that. We'll call it the island, going back to that. Like, okay, we're going to head to that island. And when we get there, we'll see. And in the process of journeying to that island, we are going to have a lot of internal changes that take place. We will not be the exact same version of ourselves when we arrive at that island. That's a beautiful, wonderful thing because that is going to prepare us for the next venture that we have in our life. And so all of these stack upon one another, that we have to start with a basic idea. In Hero on a Mission, Donald Miller has this concept of creating a 10, 5, 3, and 1 year movie for yourself. It's a very fun process because because we are the star roles in our life. And I've been saying that for a long time. And I just saw a clip of Ed Milet saying that. So I was like, oh, well, that's cool. Go Ed. Are you listening to The Conscious Investor? But all this to say is that we want to be looking ahead, say, where do we want to go? Knowing that to get there, we will have to transform. We will have to evolve. But if we don't know where we're headed, we don't even know what internal changes need to take place for us to arrive at that point. It's also great to have little sections along the way to celebrate, right? And to say, wow, look what we've accomplished. Look what we've achieved. Celebrating is really important. I do want to touch into one point that Donald Miller has that's really important because sometimes people say, and I used to be one of these people that would say, goals, you heard me talk on the first episode of this series. I did not like goals. I did not like thinking and dreaming because I thought that it wasn't productive. I didn't believe that I could actually generate and achieve the results that I was after. And that's really nihilistic thinking, right? It's just like, oh, no, it's not possible. And he says here, nihilists believe life is meaningless and there is no reason to get up and make change. Find me a nihilist, though, and I'll show you a person who has become bored in life. They do not have a vision. They do not have an internal locus of control. They do not accept their own agency. The truth, nihilists have too much time on their hands. If you feel like you have too much time on your hands and that you have time to squander and that you are bored, it's time to really build out that vision. Next time you're feeling bored, I want you to start asking yourself some more meaningful questions. One of those questions we want to start with is actually envisioning the future, knowing yourself. And I'm going to dip into Brendon Burchard's High Performance Habits, one of the most classic books. In fact, this was the gateway to my personal development. And I love this book. I need to reread it this year. That's got to be on the list. By the way, let me know. Send me a message of books that you're going to reread. Maybe I'll join you, and it might be a first read for me. Maybe it's a second or third or fourth time for me. I'm not sure. But let me know what you're reading. He says here, there's a difference between know thyself and imagine thyself. High performers know themselves, but they don't get stuck there. They are more focused on sculpting themselves into stronger and more capable people. There's another big difference, introspection versus intention. Okay. Really, the biggest takeaway I would like you to have with this quote that I'm reading, by the way, it's on page 64, if that's important to you. He says that, right, we're not focused. We're not stuck on any single version of ourselves. We are more focused on sculpting ourselves. When we allow ourselves to basically be the star role, the lead character of our life, because God blessed us with this gift of life and it's ours, entrusted to us to use wisely and carefully. So why would we not visualize what is the story? How do I want the story to go? What's the story of my life? Because I'm the architect of my life. I get to build my life. And what do I want it to be like? Could you imagine if everybody lived life that way? If everybody started sculpting their lives and themselves? And that was the other important takeaway there. It's they're sculpting themselves. When we have an idea of where we're headed, then we can have an idea of what needs to stay and what needs to go. We can have that high level of awareness that allows us to say, wow, this is a really great quality of mine, and I'm going to keep this close by. Or remember, we were talking about good versus great. Good is the enemy of great. This is a good quality, but man, it's really holding me back from greatness. What do I need to do? How do I tweak it? So we're constantly tweaking and sculpting and adapting ourselves internally. Here are 3 questions that you can ask yourself. You can always just earmark this part in the episode and come back to this in a quiet way at a later time. First, describe how you've perceived yourself in the following situations over the past several months. There's a really critical question that we need to ask ourselves. When we take time to really look ahead to what we want to generate in our life, when we take time to visualize what is the script of my life? What is the story of my life? Now we can start asking ourselves a critical question. How am I acting now? You see, we don't have to wait for some magical moment to happen for us to act and behave in a way that is in line with who we are created to be, that is in line with the kind of person we want to be, that is in line with the feelings that we want to generate in our life. We don't have to wait for some magical moment. We can do that right now in this very instance. So take a moment and say, who should I be right now? Am I showing up as that person? Am I generating the feelings I want? Is this part of a smaller part of the greater part of my life? This also gives us the freedom to develop skills and abilities. There are so many cool things that we can learn out there. I mean, like YouTube University is a lot of fun and it's a rabbit hole. But again, if we're standing on the shoreline of a vast ocean, we could really have a lot of half-built bridges to the middle of nowhere. And we don't want to, be at the end of our life looking back saying, wow, I wish I would have taken time to at least have some thoughtfulness. Imagine the type of bridge or interconnected, all the islands I could have connected to this beautiful place if I would have been more thoughtful about it. Taking that time is really important. And when we take that time, we can start saying, these are the skills I really need to hone and curate. For me right now, there are some specific skills. You might have noticed, I feel like I'm stumbling over my words in this episode. And one of the things that Super Rad Steve and I were talking about is, wow, I think it's time to invite a speaking coach into my life. Like, I really want to become very skilled at this so I can communicate super effectively to the conscious investor and really support you in the life you're trying to generate, that personal freedom. So I'm starting to identify really targeted, niched down skills to develop. Now, keep in mind, this is like almost 4 solid years of podcasting in. So you guys have suffered with some of my rambling speaking skills for a long time. And soon I will, onboard a speaking coach, and that will be very helpful. I'm certain of it. But I would not have known, very strong case in point, I would not have known that I would want to develop that skill to the extent and to invest in developing that skill if I hadn't stuck with podcasting for so many years. So it really refined what it is I was after. It made it clear, these are the skills I need to develop further in an insane way. And so now I can have that freedom to be a little bit obsessive about it. Again, going back to one of my favorite essays, Peter Drucker, Managing Oneself, you get to be obsessive about things, like find what you love, become obsessed with it, and become really, really great at it. Vision can oftentimes feel like it's dreamy, like it's dreamland, right? It can feel like a luxury item in our life. It can feel like something that we have to earn. Kind of like, okay, I ate all of my healthy foods for today. I can have this little sweet treat for this quick moment, right? And it shouldn't be like that. It should be one of the anchors and foundations of our day, kind of like a cup of coffee. But we want to make sure that we're giving ourselves that space to actually stop and pause, to be quiet and still, and just think about, visualize, contemplate, you can fill this in with a lot of words, what it is that we are after. What do we feel called to create in the life that we've been entrusted with? We can't take our heartbeats for granted. God has given those and blessed us with those heartbeats, and also blessed us with a very unique skill, talent, ability, whatever, all of the above. So we want to make sure that we are really taking time to raise our level of self-awareness, to dive deep and say, what is it I want to do with all of these things? Have that fun, have that joy. Make it a regular practice. Some people will do this during a meditation session. Like, you can do this in a lot of different ways, but it is allowing yourself the freedom to dream, to visualize, and to expand. And the reason we want to, revisit this all the time is because we are changing. Those around us are changing. Everything around us is in flux, in flow. And so we need to stay current with what is actually taking place. All right, conscious investor, that's what I've got for you for, when it comes to vision. During our goal setting session, we will be touching on this a little bit more. I want to encourage you to pick up 1, 2, or 3 of these books. They're all approaching vision in a little bit different way. Hero on a Mission by Donald Miller. Highly recommend it. I referenced it already. Vivid Vision by Cameron Herold. Very practical, very step-by-step, very hands-on, short, sweet, easy to implement. And then High Performance Habits by Brendon Burchard. His section on clarity is going to be really, really helpful for you. It's not going to necessarily guide you in a specific goal setting way that Hero on a Mission or Vivid Vision will, but there are really powerful questions that will lead you into introspection that will help you out very powerfully. All right. Once again, remember, if you want to sign up for the goal setting session that's taking place tomorrow, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern time, make sure you head to the show notes, register for that there. And you can also register for Saturday morning, the 9th, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. I would love to see you there. It is an in-person, nothing's recorded, in-person only. Also, for you committed conscious investors, I mentioned this on the last episode. I really want to be intentional about cultivating our community and closing the gaps in communication so that you have access to each other. I have just had the blessing of being able to speak with so many of you, and I know what wonderful, extraordinary people you are. And I know that there are just so many like-minded conscious investors out there. Let's figure out a way together. I will lead it. I will create the platform. I will do all the things necessary, but I want to make sure that it's actually going to serve you. Instead of me just baking up and saying, hey, I'm going to do this, come join me. I'm going to say, hey, let's co-create this. This is us. This isn't the Julie Show. This is the conscious investor community. How do we want to have that? Where do we want to have it? And what works best for you? Because I promise you, if you're feeling lonely, if you're feeling like you're trying to tackle life alone, there are so many people that are like you, and you will find deep, meaningful friendships and relationships, and people that are 100 steps ahead, and people that are 100 steps behind, and people that are right where you are. It will be powerful in your life. Shoot me a text message direct to me at 208-278-6235. Shoot me a message and let me know your thoughts on where should we have this community? What would it look like ideally for you in your life? How do you connect people with other people? That might be on a social platform. You might prefer, Julie, I hate social platforms. I just want to be in some private off social platform space, or just fill in the blanks. Dream a little bit with me, because it's critical that we are all connected and supporting each other. I think it's going to be absolutely remarkable. And I am totally looking forward to what your thoughts are. So again, shoot me a message, a text message at 208-278-6235. Yeah, you can call that number, but I'm just going to be honest, I don't listen to voicemails. So if you call that number, you don't reach me and it goes to voicemail, I read text messages, but I very rarely listen to voicemails, just being honest. So let's communicate, let's be in touch, and we will go from there. Conscious investor, I appreciate you. I appreciate your dedication to, just curating the wonderful person that God created you to be, because you are wonderful and you are doing great things in the world. And I'm excited about what we get to do together in the world. So cheers to health, mindset, and wealth.